This is the oral defense for the capstone proposal. The title is "The Proper Use of Cover Crops Can Lead to Sustainable Farming" by Danielle Lee. The research questions being analyzed are: how does the use of cover crops in agriculture affect the environment? How do different types of cover crops affect the yield of primary cash crops? How do other crop or soil management techniques used in conjunction with cover crops affect the outcome for yields and the environment? So these top 3 questions are important because cover crops are considered a sustainability measure for agriculture. However, impacts resulting from use of cover crops can vary considerably. Both for primary cash crops' yield and environmental health, some important considerations include cover crop species, type of primary crop, how the cover crops are managed, and other management techniques that may be used in combination with cover crops. The final question is, what factors influence whether farmers adopt cover crops? And this final question is important because understanding the mindset behind farmers' decisions will provide insight into factors that influence the adoption of cover crops or other sustainable farming practice. And without having farmers on board to implement sustainable farming practices, then scientists aren't going to be able to also help the environment as well. The thesis statement is understanding how cover crops used in agricultural can be optimized for sustainability purposes, as well as the factors that influence cover crop adoption can lead to better utilization of cover crops and more agriculture closer to sustainable goals. And then the hypothesis statement is the improvement of water quality, soil health, and increase in crop yields indicate a positive effect from cover crops. Some background information to the research. So conventional farming practices have led to a significant decline in environmental quality, biodiversity, and agricultural production. Without sustainable farming alternatives such as cover crops, soil erosion and soil degradation will decline. Pesticides and other chemicals will continue to pollute waterways, and more land will be required to produce food. With these two, with the environmental issues, bringing in new sustainable ways of farming is important if we want to continue to use the land we are already using for farming for generations to come and to keep it healthy. This way, we can also protect habitat, natural habitat, from becoming even more farmland. And one of the last things to understand is why some farmers are hesitant to even try cover crops. For on a farmer's point of view, even if there are environmental sides, why do they consider it having a negative effect for them? And how, as on science and farmers, how can we work together to also then help the environment? The sources of data being used were found in the APUS library, from the Science Direct database, from Wiley Online Library, from MPDI, the Science Advanced Journal, Plosh One Journal, ResearchGate, and HAL Open Science Library. Other sources that were used were from U.S. Department of Agriculture, Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education, Montana State University Land Resources Research, and Soil and Water Conservation Society 2022 through 2023 National Cover Crop Survey from Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education, SAR for short. All of these resources were used to look at the correlation between cover crops, soil nutrition, soil health, water quality, crop yields, and as well as understanding farmers' perspective of why they might not be using cover crops. The analytic procedures that are going to be used are going to be comparing data from the different sources, and then tables, graphs, and charts will be used as well. A table is going to be used to display a breakdown of the benefits of using cover crops. Description analysis will be used for cover crop impacts on water quality and on soil nutrient levels and soil health. Charts and graphs will be used to analyze the information farmers gave in the 2022 through 2023 National Cover Crop Survey from Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education, SAR for short. So the significance of the research is to understand if cover crops have an overall impact on the environment and crop yields. This is important because conventional farming has caused a lot of harm to the environment. It is also important to understand farmers' perspective to better encourage them to adapt new sustainable farming techniques. Without understanding their perspective, it's going to be harder for the farmers and the scientists to work together. It's important for them to work together if any positive changes are going to be made towards helping the environment and to create healthy land for generational use. Creating healthy land for generational use means that natural habitat can be conserved and not used for future farmland, which is also helping the environment in the long run as well. And this is the reference slide. Are there any questions? Thank you, and I appreciate you listening.